What's up, my darlings, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Kaylee, and this is my lifestyle channel centered around living your life with chronic and mental illness. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing something with you guys that I haven't really talked about on social media, and that is my disability journey. July was Disability Pride Month, and even though it is August, I figured disability awareness is important every month, so I still wanted to create this video for you guys. I had wanted to get it up in July and record it in July, but my chronic illnesses decided that I was going to be sick and wasn't going to be able to, so I'm doing it now. I didn't want to just sit in front of the camera and talk to you guys, so I figured I would do a get ready with me story time type video, and I would do an eyeshadow look inspired after the colors that represent the disabilities that I have. So if you want to see how this turns out, just keep on watching. Okay, before we get into the makeup look, I did just want to mention I will be using the James Charles palette for this eye look. This is my favorite palette. I love how all the colors are so vibrant. I use makeup as a way to express myself and to express my creativity, so that's why I love makeup. I find it very therapeutic, especially if I'm having a bad mental health day. Putting on some colorful makeup and taking some pictures really helps to just brighten my mood. So that is the palette I'm going to be using. And I am going to also be using tape. So I have just started to really learn how to do makeup. And tape helps me to make sure my lines are precise and everything looks good. So even though this will probably look a little funny on camera, I am going to be putting tape on my eyes just so my makeup looks the way I want it to. All right. With that done, we're going to start priming my eyes, and I'm going to start my story. So I've always been a very anxious and nervous child. My mom tells me that at the age of only 5 years old, if somebody around us got sick, my first question was always, are they going to die? And at 5 years old, that really shouldn't even be a thought in my mind, but that's how it was. I was very nervous. I was very anxious. I remember being sick a lot in school, constantly having stomach issues in the morning, and constantly being in the nurse's office. I wouldn't officially be diagnosed with extreme generalized anxiety disorder until I turned 13, shortly after my grandfather had passed away. The color that represents anxiety, mental health, depression, and invisible illness as a whole is white, so that is the color I'm going to be going in with right now, right underneath my eyebrow. Around the time that I was diagnosed with anxiety, I also started to experience a lot of muscle pain and extreme fatigue. I remember being only 15 years old and I had issues keeping up with the other kids. I was out of breath very easily, and I just had a lot of pain. And I was tired and exhausted. This would soon lead to a diagnosis of fibromyalgia. So I got diagnosed with fibromyalgia probably around, I would say, 15 years old. And at that time was when I was put on my first medication, which was Cymbalta. I hated Cymbalta. I was on it for, I think, 3 or 4 years. And I felt like it honestly made things worse. Being diagnosed with fibromyalgia was rough, to say the least. Fibromyalgia's color is purple, so that's what I'm going in with now, is a purple color. And I'm just putting it in my crease. But I kind of just suffered through. I remember senior year was really hard because I had gym first period, and the mornings were always the hardest for me. So I would have gym class and I would be late a lot, or I would miss completely, or I would physically be there but really wouldn't be participating as much. I actually was told that I wasn't going to graduate because of my gym class, which was awful. The only reason I wasn't in the top 10 of my class was because of gym. So that really sucked. But it was due to my health issues. I graduated high school in 2014, and at that time I was having a lot more mental health issues going on. but I wouldn't be officially diagnosed with borderline personality disorder until much later. Actually, I was unofficially diagnosed with it in, I want to say 2017, but I'd officially be diagnosed with it in September of 2019. So I always knew I had something else going on. Doctors kept trying to tell me that I was bipolar, but I knew that wasn't the case. The color for borderline personality disorder is gray, which is kind of ironic because borderlines don't see gray. We think in black and white thinking, and I will make a video about this at some point. I had made a video about it, but YouTube wasn't letting me upload it because I was having upload issues at the time. So if you want to know more about it in the meantime, you can go check out a blog post I made on my blog talking all about living with borderline. But since I don't have gray, I am going to be using black to represent borderline, which I think is a better color to represent it anyway. But yeah, so I was still experiencing pain, but I really just kind of suffered through. I didn't want to be on medication, and that was my own choice. I just have issues with medication due to personal reasons, but I would be misdiagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis my third year of college. And this diagnosis came when I started experiencing more pain than normal, and it was just really hard. I remember I was dropping everything. I was having issues opening a water bottle, and I was in college, so it was affecting my school. I was also working at this time at the college in student financial services, and I just remember being in pain a lot. I had really bad back pain. My hands were really bad. I will never forget one day a coworker, it was one day I was having a flare-up, and a coworker looked at my hands, and she was looking at me, and she goes, "Can I just say something?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "If you feel as bad as your hands look, I feel so sorry for you." And I just remember, I think I cried. I think I literally just started crying. And that was my reality. Like, I was crying almost every day at work. If I wasn't in pain, I was having anxiety attacks. I remember multiple times having to go into the bathroom to calm myself down because I was so anxious. And that was normal. Every single job I've had issues with because of my anxiety. I still remember having a panic attack in the Subway freezer because I was working there, and I will never forget that because it was so embarrassing. In November of 2018, my job of 4 years at the college came to a close. And I remember just being very devastated because my boss at that time was so accommodating, and I knew that not many others were going to be. I was working there when I got diagnosed with rheumatoid. I basically gone through so many diagnoses with her, and I knew no other boss was really going to be that understanding. I remember another coworker of that job, who never really liked me, made a comment one day that any normal job you would have been fired because I was late a lot because I was sick a lot. When that job came to a close, I did plan to go back to work, but then my health took another unexpected turn. I started to experience more symptoms than normal. I started experiencing nausea at a higher level. I started experiencing dizziness for the first time, extremely bad dissociation, and just an overall feeling of being sick. I was tired constantly. I would run on energy. I would say that I woke up with 30% energy on a daily basis, and this affected everything. I also was having extremely bad light sensitivity, just stuff that I had never had before and that I wasn't used to having. This led me to going to see a new rheumatologist, and I remember the first conversation I had with her, she just seemed not concerned, but what I was telling her, she kept asking me questions that concerned me, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I wound up getting blood work done and some testing done, and I remember walking into that appointment and I was joking with my husband that the worst thing she was going to tell me was that I had lupus. Well, I walked into that appointment and she told me, you don't have rheumatoid arthritis, you have lupus. Getting that diagnosis was extremely hard. It is still something I think I'm trying to cope with and accept, because now I am on medication for the rest of my life, and it's been really rough. It was after that diagnosis and when I noticed my health was getting even worse, which was then affecting my anxiety and my borderline, that I started considering filing for disability. When you're 24 years old and you are trying to make a decision like that, it's really hard, and I feel like many people don't think it is. I think many people are like, oh, lucky you, you get to stay home, and that was never what it was. I remember just crying because I wanted to be normal. I wanted to work. I wanted to support my family. Tom and I got married in October of 2018, so it was like shortly after getting married that all these health issues really started to happen. One of my best friends contacted me one day and said that her mom was friends with a disability advocate and that she would love to talk with me. We had a conversation. Right from the start, she told me that I had a case and that if I really wanted to, we could start filing. I officially started filing for disability in, I believe it was September of 2019. And I made that decision after talking with my primary doctor. My primary doctor said to me, no joke, these were his words, I don't know how you made it through high school. Of course, I think you should apply. And I don't know if that was a good thing. I just remember being like, oh, okay. I also remember having a panic attack in the office that day because I was just like in shock that he had told me that. But it really validated my feelings. Going through the disability process was awful. If I didn't have such an amazing disability advocate, I never would have been able to do this on my own. It is a brutal process. It is like literally, it takes everything out of you. I remember just being stressed all the time. There's so much paperwork. You basically have to get paperwork from every single doctor you've ever seen, and you have to fill out a bunch of paperwork. I think the most heartbreaking part of the whole process was the paperwork that my husband had to fill out, because reading his words on how my disabilities affected our life was really, really hard to handle. Throughout this whole process, I really didn't think I was going to get approved. The approval rate is very low, especially the first time approval rate. And I just remember crying a lot. I also dealt with a lot of negative, not feedback, because I was very private this whole time. I didn't talk to really anybody except for my very, very close friends that I was even going through this process. And partly it was because I was ashamed of myself. I remember many nights thinking, am I just giving up? Am I really trying? Like, am I just letting my illnesses win? And if you are having doubts, that means you're valid, because someone who's just faking it are not gonna have doubts. But I did. It was a very, very rough process, and I never thought I was gonna get approved. At this time, I had been out of work since November of 2018. So I had been out of work almost a full year. I had to rely on everybody for everything, and it was not only damaging to my mental health, it was just, I felt like such a failure. I felt so useless and worthless. That year was one of the hardest of my life. One of the last things I had to do for my disability was go see a disability doctor, one of their disability doctors. Dang it, the tape didn't work as well. And I remember the moment I got into that office, I went into a full-blown panic attack. I was going through a flare-up at the time, so I was in a lot of pain. And that was just a really rough appointment. I was so sick that day, and I mean, I guess it was good for them to see, because that's a lot of days, that's how I feel. But it was very hard to go through that. In March of 2020, I received a phone call that I never thought I would receive. And that was that my disability claim had been approved. You would think I would be overjoyed, but I felt a lot of emotions at that moment, and they weren't all positive. I remember crying, and my husband was like, "Are you crying because you're happy?" And I was like, "I don't know." Obviously, I was happy that, you know, I was going to be bringing in some income and that I could support myself again. But I was so sad in a way, because it felt to me like it was hard to accept that reality. It's still very hard to talk about. You know, here I am 24 years old and I'm legally declared disabled. I never thought that would be my life. Around that time, my mental health was really bad, and even though I thought it would get better because I got approved, it didn't. And shortly after that, the coronavirus hit, and obviously that took a toll on my mental health as well. My file will be reviewed in January of 2021, which is also annoying because I need to constantly keep proving to people that I'm sick, and that's very hard to do when you don't even want to accept it yourself. It's taken me a long time to be able to say, yes, I am a 24-year-old woman and I am legally disabled. And you know what? I'm not ashamed of that. But as I'm saying it now, I really do feel that. I'm not ashamed to say I'm disabled. I'm not ashamed to share my story with all of you guys. For a long time I was. Many people didn't know, and the few people who did, I was very hesitant to tell. I didn't want the judgment. I didn't want people looking at me like I was giving up, or, well, you don't look sick. I hate that. I get told that so many times. You don't look sick. What does a sick person look like? Because if you could see the pain that I feel, if you could get a glimpse of the torment in my mind, you would know that I have illnesses. I'm not faking it. Why would I fake something like this? It's very hard to be a young disabled person. There's a lot of judgment. I now have a service dog in training. That was a big thing for me. When that happened, and I will say that never would have happened if I didn't get approved for disability, because I would not have been able to afford it. It was like, I can't even put into words what it was like. When I brought Blue home and I knew like this is hopefully going to be my service dog, the feeling was undescribable. And every time I train with him, even when it's hard, I still have that feeling. But when I'm out in public with him, I remember one of our first outings, someone was like, "Oh, do you know what he's going to be trained for?" And I was like, "Oh, well, he's my service dog in training. I'm training him." And they were like, "Oh," you know, that "oh," that's like, "Oh, but you don't look like you need a service dog." People who are young and have disabilities deal with so much discrimination. And I guess what I really want to say here is you never know what someone's dealing with, so please just be kind. And if you are someone out there who's struggling, if you're newly disabled, if you're newly diagnosed with another illness, if you're struggling to survive, just know that it's okay. It's okay to have bad days, but please don't be ashamed of who you are. For a long time, when someone would be like, "Oh, if you had a chance, you know, would you never have illnesses?" And of course it was like, yeah, duh, like these illnesses cause so much havoc on my life. But when I really sit back and I think about it, like, these illnesses have made me who I am. These illnesses have given me a strength, because I had to be strong from a young age. When you're sick all the time and you're dealing with pain and nausea, and not to mention the torment in your mind and the anxiety, and you're looking at the other kids and they're not having to deal with it, and they're, you know, running in gym class just fine. You have to be strong to survive. And my illnesses have given me that strength, and they also have given me this ability to share my story with all of you guys and to hopefully help someone out there who's struggling, because I know how easy it is to feel alone. I still have a long way to go in my disability journey. I have been experiencing new symptoms. I have a rheumatologist appointment coming up, and in that appointment, I don't know what's gonna happen. I need to go see my cardiologist. I feel like there might be another illness brewing, or I might have another illness that just hasn't been diagnosed yet. It's scary. Every single day is unpredictable. I never know what a doctor is gonna tell me. And when you live with anxiety and you live in fear, it's very hard to live your life to the fullest because you're always so guarded and step back. But I'm trying harder now to live my life to the fullest, because the reality is I never know when I'm gonna get up one day and not be able to walk. I never know. Wow, I'm getting emotional. I apologize. I have to live in fear of if I'm going to be able to have kids, or if I'm going to be in a wheelchair in a few years. That's my life. That's the life of many people with chronic illness. That's the life of many disabled people. And just please, if you're not struggling, be kind to others and really just think about what they're going through. Don't be ignorant. Don't make an ignorant comment. I don't know how many times I've heard people tell me, oh, just go exercise. Oh, eat better, do this, do that. And it's like, none of that. Yeah, it might help a little bit, but it's never going to cure me. I have chosen to share my story with you guys today because I want others out there who are struggling to realize that it's okay, and that even though you might feel broken, you are still worthy of love. Your life is still important. Your life can still be beautiful. We need to stop using disabled as a bad word. And myself have been guilty of that. When I first, had these illnesses, admitting that I was disabled, even before it was legal, was so hard. But it shouldn't be a negative thing. This is the life I was given, and I can either be mad about it, which there are days where I am, trust me, there are days where I am, or I can embrace it and I can learn how to cope with it and how to help others who are also struggling. I say something a lot. I say that God let my body have these illnesses because He knows not only am I strong enough to get through them, but I'm going to use my story to help others. My therapist will even tell me that what keeps me going is the hope that my story is going to help others out there. And that is why I chose to share my story today. Alright guys, so I just straightened my hair off camera and threw on some mascara. So this is the eye makeup look all complete. It's just a nice purple eye look. I haven't been dolled up in a while, so it's kind of weird seeing myself with my hair straight and my makeup done. Because I've had, a lot of rough health days, so it's just been hair up in a ponytail and no makeup and glasses. But when I wear makeup, when I straighten my hair, it doesn't make me any less sick. I think for a while I was scared to post photos or make a video all dolled up, even though I was still like, I have to be dolled up because I have to be perfect. But I was scared because people see that and they go, oh, well, you're not sick. But I'm just as sick here as I am when I'm curled up in bed in a flare-up. And I think more people need to realize that. This negative stigma for young people with chronic illness, mental illness, disabled, really needs to stop, because all it does is make us who are struggling feel very alone, and that's just not okay. I hope this video helps you to understand a little bit of what it's like to be a young person who is disabled. And I hope if you are struggling out there that this video might have brought you some comfort. And if you are struggling, as hard as it is, really try to just live your life and not think about what other people think, because for us, we never knew that one day we were going to wake up sick and never get better. We don't know what tomorrow brings. We don't know what the next hour brings, but what's important is the here and now. And My biggest thing this year, which has been quite hard with COVID, but my biggest thing this year has just been trying to live in the moment and stop dreading the future, stop trying to live in the past. I'm not that girl anymore, and you know what? That's okay, because I'm finally finding who I am, and part of who I am is being disabled and having illnesses, and I'm not ashamed of it anymore. I know I'm doing the best I can with the life I'm given, with the life I was given, with the health I was given, and I'm gonna continue being strong. I'm gonna continue sharing my story, even when it's scary, and I just hope I can help someone out there who's struggling. If you liked this video, please hit that like button, and if you want to see more videos, please hit that subscribe button. I post new vlogs every Tuesday and a new content video every Friday. If you want to see more of my life, you can check out my Instagram account, which is Chronically Kaylee, or you can check out my blog, which is www.lifeiskayleexox.com. All right, until next time, my beautiful darlings, stay strong. Bye!